Dr. Hotez, would you take the AstraZeneca vaccine right now?
Yes, I would. In fact, I've offered to do that. And the reason is this, the Europeans have been quite tone deaf to how sensitive vaccines are to public perception, or as I often like to say, it doesn't take much to vote even a good vaccine off the island if the public doesn't feel confident. And the way the individual European countries have handled this has been abysmal. So the EMA statement, the European Medicine Agencies, which is the regulatory body in Europe, statement yesterday is important, but that's not going to be enough for all the damage control that's going to be needed. That statement that the German institute made, the Paul Ehrlich Institute, which is their regulatory body, was just so damning. And the fact that the French suspended its use with oblivious to the impact that would have on Francophone Africa, because the Francophone Africa very much gets its guidance from France. I'm really worried. I'm really worried about what's going to happen in the coming weeks.
I have noticed, and James Burns Murdoch at the FT, a major shout out, Brazil and Latin America seems to be unraveling. To me, India is a statistical mystery as well. Are we winning in this battle with a pandemic, or are we deluding ourselves?
Well, what you really have to do is go country to country. I think, in the U.S., we're slowly getting our arms around this. We're in a race with the B.1.1.7 variant from the UK with vaccinating the American people. The next few weeks are absolutely going to be critical. Africa doesn't have vaccine. That's a disaster in the making. Latin America doesn't have vaccine. That's a disaster in the making. India is doing what it can to step up to be the vaccine supplier for the world's low and middle income countries. That's a positive. Russia and China have largely bypassed international regulatory authorities like WHO pre-qualification and making these one-off deals with countries. That's a disaster. So it's a very, very complicated and mixed picture right now.
Doctor, I have to follow up on something you've brought up, and I'm embarrassed to say I hadn't even thought about it, how the issues in France around this vaccine would spill over culturally to the issues in Africa as well. When you say we could see a disaster, can you describe what that disaster would look like?
Well, the disaster is, it looks like the South African variant, the B.1.351, is accelerating now up into Malawi, Mozambique. And even though Africa overall has done better than many expected during 2020, that grace period could end as this virus starts to accelerate. And the world has been very focused on very high-tech innovations, mRNA vaccines that'll never filter, or I don't think will filter, to the low and middle income countries. Yes, Pfizer-BioNTech sent 235,000 doses to Rwanda. That was great, but look at the need. There are 1.1 billion people living in sub-Saharan Africa. If we need 2 doses of most of those vaccines, that's 2 billion doses. So far, it's a drop in the bucket, and there's no real plan for what we do. We're trying to accelerate a low-cost recombinant protein vaccine with another Indian producer, Biological E, and that's going really well. So hopefully we can fill that gap. But that's a potentially humanitarian crisis right there for Africa.
Are you receiving sufficient funding to do that, Doctor?
No, I mean, we had to raise a lot of that money privately from various sources, and here in Texas, enough to do the technology transfer to India. And now we're in discussions with South Africa and Indonesia, so hopefully that will come through. But everybody went very heavy on the innovation, and innovation's important. We need to innovate in vaccines, but at a certain stage, you need some traditional, low-cost, durable vaccines for low and middle-income countries, and there was not enough attention paid to that.